Hey, Kerry here of Best of Us Investors. Today I'm doing a video with David Jackson, the CEO of Seeking Alpha. It is not a paid video. He's Seeking Alpha and Best of Us Investors are not exchanging any form of currency. Instead, what we're trying to do is to collaborate to help you become a better investor. To use David's words, we're trying to democratize the financial education so that you understand, so that you have tools that you can become a better investor. And what I want you to do is take a look. I'm going to ask him to walk us through exactly how he would research stocks to find additional stocks that we might want to be invested in and how to use their tool more efficiently. So this is, as I say, it is not a sponsored video. This is an educational video and it's for your benefit. So take what you can from it and let's spend a few minutes with David Jackson, the CEO of Seeking Alpha.
Best of Us Investors presents Kerry Griegmeyer.
David, we've introduced Speaking Alpha to our viewers, and the reception has been fantastic. They think somehow I've performed magic, okay, by making this contact and bringing this to them. And I think what we've done is created a different atmosphere than most other YouTube channels in that we're not, one of my viewers said he's teaching us how to fish rather than giving us fish. And that's what I want to do. I want to open the investment world up. Over here in the United States, in fact, we're having a Black History Month, and it's being pointed out the discrimination against Black people. And I got to thinking, there's a discrimination against a lot of people in financial literacy. It is a commodity that has been owned by the very wealthy for a very long time. And those of us who aren't part of that community are only allowed in for the purpose of losing our money. So I think what we are doing collectively is helping upgrade that financial literacy and doing it in such a way that it's actually the participants who are teaching each other. And that's what your platform does. It asks people who own stocks to give their opinions, pro and con. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do on my channel. So I think it's a magnificent marriage. But what I need from you is some steps as to if you were looking for a stock as president of your company, how would you go about doing it?
Well, Kerry, first of all, thank you for having me on.
Sure.
I'm really enjoying these discussions with you. They're terrific. And I have to admit to you, I've been watching your YouTube videos.
Oh, good.
And really enjoying them.
Good.
And I watched your YouTube video about the stocks that you believed have the greatest upside, where you were talking about 3D printing stocks. So what I thought I could do is show your followers 5 ways to use Seeking Alpha, or 5 different ways to use Seeking Alpha to discover the kinds of stocks that you're looking for.
That would be excellent.
With a kind of starting point of one of the stocks that you know that you like.
Okay.
That I think is the best way to start.
Okay.
So if you're happy for me to do it,
yeah,
I'll screen share and jump in and show you what I set up.
Okay.
Okay. So this is actually the Seeking Alpha homepage.
Okay.
But what I did was I set up a portfolio here with 3 stocks in it, which were 3 of the stocks that you mentioned in your last video.
Okay.
3D Systems and XONE, the X1 company, and then also Pacific Biosciences, California. And so how I would approach this is when you've got a stock that you like and meets the criteria that you're looking for of the stocks that you're picking, that's actually the best place to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can start with one of these stocks. We'll take 3D systems, which I'm going to click on right now, and how to discover similar stocks that might fit your criteria from the starting point of, I know I like 3D systems. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic. All right. So the first thing to do, if you want to discover similar stocks, is that when you're on Seeking Alpha, you click on the Peers tab.
Okay.
Peers is in the top navigation near the stock. And what this does is this shows you a comparison sheet of the stock in question, in this case, 3D Systems,
Okay.
with 5 other stocks that are in the same industry as this stock, and therefore have some similarity in the sense that they're in the same industry.
Okay.
The problem is, you're probably looking at this slightly perplexed, because the truth is that industry classifications are very broad. So the industry here is technology, hardware, storage, and peripherals, which actually covers a whole load of things.
Yeah.
And it's too broad for you. What you really want is 3D printing. So the first step can be very useful if the industry is precise and you really are looking for stocks in that industry. But sometimes it's not precise enough. So we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this a little bit later on.
Okay.
The next thing to do is to click here on related stocks. And this is much more productive generally, because this shows you the stocks which are followed by people who follow 3D systems.
Okay.
So this is true wisdom of the crowds. This is saying all the people who have got 3D systems in a Seeking Alpha watch list or a Seeking Alpha portfolio, what are the other stocks that they most frequently have or are following as a result of that? And so what you see here is a list of 3D printing companies.
Okay.
And so this is great, because here you might actually discover stocks that you don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what it sometimes does is it sometimes also shows you stocks which aren't, let's say, in the same business or the same industry as that stock, but have similar kinds of growth potential, growth characteristics, so people might be interested in them. So here, even though it's much further down the list, you can see First Solar there.
Mm-hmm.
Because people who are looking for big growth sectors and how the world is changing,
Okay.
they might be interested in 3D printing, and they might also be interested in solar technology. And so you can see that those stocks.
Okay.
So that's the second way of finding stocks. And for each of these, you just click on the stock. So I'm clicking on the X1 company, and then scroll down and you can read the company profile, and I see immediately that it's also a 3D printing company.
Right. Okay.
Right, just like 3D systems. The next way is that there are some really clever things that you can do to discover stocks that you might be interested in. The next way is to click on related ETFs. Now, the related ETFs are the ETFs which hold 3D systems. So actually what this page is showing is it's showing the ETFs with the largest weighting to 3D systems. So here you can see that it turns out there's actually a 3D printing ETF.
Okay. Didn't know that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So and you can see the other. Here's something which I know is close to your heart, right? Global Robotics and Automation.
Yeah.
Index ETF.
Okay.
So what you can do now is click on the ETF, and when you go to the ETF, click on the holdings, and it will show you the top 10 holdings in the ETF.
Okay.
And so here, for example, is Materialize NV, right? It's ADR, which means it's a foreign company. Maybe I hadn't heard of that company. So maybe if I click on that in the top 10 holdings, it'll turn out that this is also a 3D printing company. There it is in Europe.
Sure. Okay.
European 3D printing company. So far, we've found 3 ways. We go back to 3D systems. sorry. We found 3 ways to discover similar stocks to 3D systems. The first is just to look at the
through the peers
comparison, which is ones in the same industry.
Mm-hmm.
Second is click on related stocks, where you can see a list of all the stocks owned by people who follow 3D systems, which is wisdom of the crowds.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is to look at which ETFs own this stock, and then to look at their holdings.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Because again, what you're zeroing in on is there are some people, I get the question, I want to buy stocks, but I feel more comfortable in an ETF. And so I was totally unaware of this. This is excellent.
Yeah, I think that buying ETFs is often a very good way for people to start
Mm-hmm.
who don't yet feel capable of stock picking.
Or have the time. You know,
Yeah.
it's like I was speaking to a gentleman. He says, I'm a school teacher. I'm working when the market is open, so I don't have that advantage to be involved on a day-to-day basis. So
Yeah.
ETFs are an excellent alternative.
Yes, and I think this method of finding the ETFs that hold the stock that you know that you like, and then looking at what other holdings
Mm-hmm.
the ETFs have, is a kind of secret method of finding stocks that lots of people are unaware of, that I think is really powerful.
Well, the other thing is you're tapping into the knowledge of people who are professionals at picking stocks by seeing what they pick. I mean, you're going through the keyhole and seeing what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So two other approaches also that I want to show you. If we I'm going to go back and in fact, let's go back to X1. Because we kind of discovered this, although I know that this is one of your stocks, Karen.
Yes, it is.
So another way of discovering stocks is to read the news, the Seeking Alpha news, on the stock that you're interested in. So let's say I'm interested in X1.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a news story will come up, and what we try to do on Seeking Alpha in our news is, unlike news which is business news or news which is political news, our news is written specifically for investors.
Mm-hmm.
We try to write news to make it as useful as possible for investors. And one of the things that we try to do is join the dots for investors. So if there's news about this company, for example, which has moved the price of this stock, what else is moving as a result of this, or what else might move? And so the result is that Seeking Alpha news stories often cite other stocks. So here in a story about 3D systems, it says, this particular news caused 3D's shares to go up by 2.5% before the market opened. But it also mentions 2 other stocks, and there's X1.
Yes.
And Stratasys,
Mm-hmm.
which are also mentioned in the news story. I'd love to give you an example of how I literally just use this myself.
Okay.
To add a stock to my watch list. I'm interested in platinum because I read this article on Seeking Alpha by Andrew Hecht, who is an excellent Seeking Alpha contributor who specializes in commodities. And his thesis on platinum is that platinum is very undervalued relative to gold and silver, but there's a real growth story for platinum as environmental concerns grow, because platinum is used as one of the materials for cleaning the environment, for catalytic converters and other things like that.
Okay.
So his view on platinum is that, and he wrote his article. I'll actually show you. He wrote his article, and you can see the chart here where he wrote his article.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Seeking Alpha Premium subscriber, next to every article you have the rating of the author and where he wrote it. So you can see that he wrote his article at about 100,
Mm-hmm.
and platinum's are already up 17% since he wrote it.
Oh.
And that was only on January 27th.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's ahead of the curve.
In 19 days, he's up 17% versus 2.5% for the S&P 500.
Yeah.
So it was a great stock pick. I started following platinum as a result of this, and I read this story here. Platinum rallies above $1,200 to the highest in 6 years, and in the middle of it, it starts mentioning that there's one major producer of platinum. This is the closest pure play miner for platinum, and it's called Sibanye-Stillwater. And I didn't know this stock. I'd never heard of it, and I had a question. Hey, which of the mining companies are most exposed to platinum? So if the price of platinum goes up because there's a huge move to electric vehicles, and platinum is a key constituent in that and other environmental friendly products, which mining stock could go up? Because often the miners go up more than the metal itself.
Right.
So that was just the way that I discovered this.
Wow.
Which is just through this news story. And to get these news stories, what you do on Seeking Alpha is when you go to the so I'll go back to I'll just go back to platinum here. You just follow it, and if you follow it, it asks you whether you want email alerts, and you'll get email alerts on the stock of articles and news.
So when I follow,
you can read all the news.
In this, I'm following the commodity, right?
Right now, I'm following I'm following platinum, and it shows you here that there's 10,200 people following it. Let's say I go to the article and I click through to this mining company. What I'm following is already, and there's 16,000 people following this mining company because it's the biggest platinum miner. So
can you follow an author as well, a writer?
Yeah, yes, you can. Yes. So, for example, let's say I'm going to go back again. Let's say I really like Andy Heft, who's this commodity expert. I can follow him here.
Okay.
And if I just click follow there, I'll get his articles emailed to me when he publishes them.
Tell me this. It might take me 15 years to find Andrew Hack. Searching through this, how do I, as a new user, ascertain who the best writers are and who's most accurate, who hits the most balls out of the park?
I think the best way to do it is to start with the stock that you really like.
Okay.
And so let's say you say, I'm really interested in 3D systems. And I'm really bullish on it. So I'm looking for authors who are bullish on the stock and have got it right. So here's an article on 3D systems, which is bullish. And I'm going to look at this. I'm going to see whether this person has when they covered the stock and how frequently they covered the stock.
I see.
Say, hey, they really got it right. Look, he's up 448% since he wrote his article.
Okay.
32% for the S&P 500.
Huh.
I'm going to follow him.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the easiest ways to do this.
And by following him, I will get an email alert every time he writes an article.
You can choose to. I think the default is that you get an email alert. You can just uncheck the box if you don't want.
Okay.
If you don't want to get emails, and on the website you can click on My Authors, and it will just show you the articles by all the authors that you're following. As well.
Okay. All right.
So one final way to find stocks based on a growth theme that you're interested in is to use our search. And so I'm actually going to put 3D printing in the search.
Mm-hmm.
Our search is really powerful, and I'll show you some neat things. This, first of all, searches for everything, but I can filter it to news. So I'm looking now at news stories which mention the phrase 3D printing.
Okay.
And so for example, here's a company I've never heard of. C-Spine launches first 3D printed interbody implant system.
Wow.
Wow, that's the convergence of 3D printing and biotech.
In biotech, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, and here are other ones. The other thing which is really powerful is our search also works on earnings transcripts. So I should say a word about earnings transcripts, if you'd like me
Sure.
to explain what they are
Mm-hmm.
to your followers. Every quarter, when US companies announce their earnings results, they do a conference call, which is
Right.
listenable to by everybody, and which the analysts who cover the stock often participate in and ask questions in about their quarterly results, where the company discusses, their strategy and their quarterly results. The transcripts are really wonderful. They're an amazing resource because they're one of the best ways to learn about the company is just to read its transcripts. One of the features that we offer on Seeking Alpha is search across all transcripts. So what I'm doing here is I've done a search for the phrase 3D printing, and it's showing me every company that has mentioned the word 3D printing on their quarterly call.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can scroll down, and like some of them, we have now already discovered. There's 3D Systems. There's VoxelJet, which was a foreign 3D printing company that we discovered.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Xerox talking about that. X1. Here's Materialize, which we came across before.
Right.
And so this is a great way of searching for themes.
Okay.
So, Kerry, I know that one of the things that you've talked about is treatments for medical conditions and which are going to be the explosive companies coming up with game-changing treatments. You could type in here, the name of a condition or something like that, and see all the companies that have mentioned that medical condition on their call. And that's a great way of discovering stocks.
Wow.
By searching their transcripts.
Yeah. Okay.
So just to kind of summarize, I went to DuPont instead of
one less D.
Really different companies.
Yeah, very different.
I don't think your tribe wants to be owning DuPont right now.
I don't think so.
3D Systems.
Well, that is interesting, and that you mentioned that, because I think too many people look at the stock market and don't focus. They try to be a generalist. As a financial advisor, I often reflect back on why I was not able to achieve the returns as a financial advisor that I can as an individual. And it's because I had to be a generalist and I had to diversify. I could not look into the future and say, I want nothing to do with, who did we just say there? DuPont. That's not my industry. I want biotech. I want 3D printing. I want robotics and electric vehicles. And that's what I want to become an expert on. If I don't, I can't expect to outperform. I have to focus and be an expert. And I think that's what you're showing me here right now. I can become an expert, but I can dig deep. I can get beyond just the names that everybody's talking about. And maybe I can find that $2 stock that's going to turn into a $200 stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think you kicked off the conversation by talking about democratizing access to investing, and some of the tools which we've developed are explicitly for that purpose. Our view was that professional investors have access to things like transcripts of companies' calls, and Seeking Alpha went into the market and started publishing them for free.
Yeah.
And while at the beginning it's the more educated individual investors who use those sorts of things, over time people learn to use them. And I think that what's incredibly valuable about what you're doing, and also just about this conversation, is if we can show people what tools to use to find the stocks that they really want, and that there are actually very powerful tools available and they're quite easy to use, it democratizes things. It means that a lot of the advantage which professional investors have disappears. I think what you were saying about the disadvantages of being a financial advisor are very true. Individual investors have real advantages over professional investors in certain ways. They can think in longer time frames. They don't need to worry about quarterly performance. They don't need to be doing calls with clients and spending all their time attracting clients. They can just pick stocks.
Yes.
And put their time into that. And I think that when you combine those advantages with a platform like Seeking Alpha, which gives you really powerful tools to find and research the stocks that you want, there's no reason why individuals can't perform better than professional investors. And in fact, the data actually show that hedge funds in aggregate, the returns of hedge funds, are massively trailing the market and trailing individual investors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's really true that individuals can do much better than professional investors.
Again, they don't have the restrictions that large corporations put on you. You don't have any governmental regulations that say you can or you can't do that. What you lack is knowledge. And once you acquire that knowledge, you now have an advantage. And the other thing that I love to tell people is that you need to say to yourself, I am going to become a 1%er. Because I know that 99% of the people will not put forth the work to make this happen. And when you gain that advantage, you win. By default, you win.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's really true. One of the aspects of that I thought about a lot was I used to be an analyst for a Wall Street firm, and I came to the conclusion that the research that we wrote, it might have been very good, but it was really boring. And part of the reason is because there are so many restrictions, both from regulators, but also the firms themselves, on the style that you use. There's a very strong house style.
Okay.
That reading Wall Street analyst reports, it can be crushingly boring because they're just not written in an interesting way. And I think that one of the benefits of opening up the market to individual investors and making individual investors, turning them into analysts instead of just Wall Street analysts. This is what we talked about in our last video.
Yeah.
Of getting rid of the gatekeepers, the people who say, no, we tell you which restaurants are good. We
Yes.
tell you which books are good. Suddenly, let's open it up to the crowd and have the crowd decide which restaurants are good, which books are good, and also which stocks, right, are good, and write articles on the stocks. Is that our contributors actually write entertaining articles?
Yeah.
And I think that that what goes along with saying to people is you can become really informed. You can become an expert in this. It's a lot easier to do it if it's fun.
Yeah.
And I think that the articles on Seeking Alpha and the way we write our news stories are written to be short and concise and fun, and at the same time as helpful as possible to turn people into great investors.
I want to share with you the video I will do later this morning is built entirely of a Seeking Alpha article that I read about what's going to happen to Amazon as a result of Jeff Bezos stepping aside and letting someone come forward who is in fact coming from not their digital or not their e-commerce, but instead from their Amazon Web Services, and how that will change and how what he is likely to do. And your author is suggesting they'll probably split the stock to get it down on the price. They may issue a dividend. They may start buying stock back. Well, these are things that I would never think of. Okay. And so your author opened my mind to say, wow, is it realistic that now if somebody does make these changes, Amazon can change from being a $3,000 stock to a $300 stock and make it available to many, many more people, and then create a dividend. And wow, we could now see another spike in Amazon. And I think your author and me are the only two who put these dots together. And I think that you would never get anything like that from Wall Street. Wall Street's going to talk about, is the government going to regulate Amazon any further? The only story I see about Amazon anymore is right down the street we have a distribution center, and they're trying to unionize it. It would be the only union. There's too much negative. And what I got from the article that I'm going to focus on today is that there are positive changes that can happen. And I did an interview with Jim Rogers, and he said the key to making a lot of money in investing is to recognize change and how that change identifies an undervalued asset that becomes correctly valued. Now, is it possible that Amazon is an undervalued asset? Yes, it is, particularly if they split, particularly if they create a dividend and make some other changes in the way they do business. So I'm learning a lot from Seeking Alpha. I'm broadening my horizons, and I honestly believe that the partnership that you and I have created, to use your word, we're going to democratize the investment world, and we're going to change it. And that's just to think that two guys who get together could change the investment world. That's huge. That's huge.
Well, I'm really pleased to be appearing on your channel, Kerry, and working on this with you. It's our philosophy broadly. Just how do we get the tools to people to make them really usable, to empower people? And I think what I also feel about this is it's not just about people being able to invest well and do well financially. It's that your financial future is so important to you as a person. And when people feel out of their depth and they feel that they can't do this, it's also very disempowering on a personal, deep level.
Yes.
And when you teach people or when you give people the tools and the self-confidence to take control of their own lives financially, the impact of that is also much bigger than just their investing. It's also about some confidence. That's why the tagline of Seeking Alpha, which we stick in our videos, but not your ones, Kerry, is power to investors. Because what we're really looking to do is to empower people.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of that is to respect people.
Yeah.
It's to not go into it with the attitude, we know better and we're going to tell you what to do. But rather what we were talking about in our last video, we want to put different viewpoints in front of you because you're smart. And as you become educated, you'll be able to make your own decisions. And we want to give you the tools and the information for empowering yourself and making those decisions.
That is huge.
And when you do that, it changes your life.
It does.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
And it changes your confidence as a person.
I was talking with a young gentleman, 26 years old, and he was sharing with me. He says, I have a very wealthy grandpa, he called him. And every Sunday, grandpa comes over for dinner. And he said, and I am thought of as the dumb kid amongst my cousins. They're all off to universities and whatever. And I just shared with him, yes, I'm investing in the stock market. And my grandpa kind of laughed, he said. And then I started telling him the kind of money I'm making. And my grandmother from the other side and spoke up and said, yes, I gave him some of my money and he's doubled it in 3 months. And he said, my grandpa has new respect for me now. And he said, Kerry, if I hadn't connected with you, that wouldn't have happened in my life. The empowerment of people, that they gain confidence, that they get rid of that roommate in their head that says, you can't do this. You're not worthy. This is powerful. And this is changing people's lives. And here we're doing it from a computer, in my case, in my basement. I wish I was in my garage. Do you know why I was wishing I was in my garage? Because then I could step in with Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak and Bill Gates and Paul Allen and Sergey Brin and Larry Page. They all started their business that became enormous, and Jeff Bezos, in a garage. I'm starting mine in a basement.
That's terrific, and I love the story.
Yeah,
I love the story.
Yeah.
I think that I often say to people inside Seeking Alpha, helping people to invest well isn't just about helping people to make money. It's about helping them to achieve their life goals.
Yeah.
To be able to go to college or send their kids to college, to afford healthcare, to live where they want to live the kind of life that they want to live, to be able to give away money.
Yeah.
Right? To charities and to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's so much more than just making money. And part of that is exactly that sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
And helping people. So I'm enjoying these videos.
Okay.
Because I think that you're helping me to look at Seeking Alpha from the perspective of how can we explain this to people who are less experienced and enable them to tap into the power of this.
Yes.
So that they can use it to empower themselves and to learn and enjoy it while they're doing it and become successful investors.
And as I say, we have a privilege, and that privilege is to be an owner of some of the best companies in the world. And now we have the tools to help us, to give us the confidence that, yes, we can choose, we can make good decisions. We then need to learn our tax code so that we can keep more of what we make. And then we need to set a goal. And here in the United States, that is, before I die, accumulate $24 million that the federal government will allow me to pass on estate tax-free. And if you don't take that challenge, you're a fool. It's a gift. So take it and learn. Thank you, David. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on, as always. And it's just a pleasure.
Okay.
It's a pleasure chatting with you.
I will get back to you with another challenge, and we'll do another video soon.
Looking forward.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much, Carrie.
Okay, if you'd like to use Seeking Alpha, this is their URL where you can go and sign up and become a premium member. That's what I am. And I have found it has opened my eyes up substantially. It's given me some tools to make better videos and to make better investments. So that's for your benefit, and I'd encourage you to look into it and see if it can broaden your horizons and make you a better investor. What I'd also like you to do is to go to my Discord and become a member of the Discord. And then in the Discord, communicate with me. Tell me what you'd like me to talk to David about in the future. He's left the door open that I can come back and interview him pretty much as we want. And I want to help him grow his business, and I want to help grow my business, and I want to help grow your asset base. So do that. And if you're not a part of the Discord, if you haven't gone to Best of Us Investors and become a part of it, just say, give me your name and your email address, and I'll send you a link. Or go into the comments, and I'll peruse through the comments. What other questions, what other help would you like from Seeking Alpha? Okay, thank you, and let's grow together.